Welcome to Cat and Raven Designs. I'm Cat.
And I'm Raven. Hi. So we make cold process soap. We're at catandravendesigns.com. And if you are looking to get started in cold process soap, or you are looking to up your production of your current cold process soap setup, maybe you're like we were recently and you're looking at upgrading your molds or buying new molds and you're having a hard time visualizing exactly what you're dealing with. We wanted to go over a number of molds. This is not a sponsored video. We paid for all of these molds ourselves. We have used all these molds. So we're gonna go over each one of the molds. At the end, I'm also gonna make a loaf of soap in each mold so that you can see the actual loaf itself and the bars with the same design, same everything coming out of each one of the molds. So that way you can get a visual on your finished bars. To start off with, we're going to start at a small level so that we're including not only the larger molds, but also some of the smaller ones. First one. So this is a mini loaf mold. It is commonly referred to online as a 4-inch mold. It's available on a whole variety of different suppliers. Wholesale Supplies Plus has their version, Nurture Soap, Rustic Essentials, Brambleberry. Most of them have these as an option. This particular one we picked up from Rustic Essentials. Generally, you can find these guys for about $8 to $9, except for on Brambleberry where they're $11. Out of these, you can get 3 1-inch bars, plus a little sliver on either side, so like a little sample bar size. They hold 20 to 25 ounces of total soap batter, including your oils and lye water. And some pros is it's small, very small, which makes it really good for testing or for very small batches. So if you're looking to just do 3 bars at a time, if you're just getting started, this is a good way to go. We use them for miniature custom loaves. Some cons, it's so small. Because they're so small, it's occasionally kind of difficult working with a very complicated design because the amount of batter you're working with is really tiny. So doing much more than like 3 colors is really difficult and kind of a pain in the butt. So these are best for simple designs. They can also be a little bit of a struggle to get the loaf out of the mold once it's set up because you have to pull it here and break the suction on the bottom of the mold and push the loaf out from the bottom, which if your loaf is not completely hardened means that you are putting indents in the bottom of the loaf. Next, Amazon molds.
We use these for so long.
These ones are really common. A lot of people use these to start off with. You'll see them in the purple liner, the pink liner, or sometimes the blue liner. The purple's the most common. They vary heavily in price between about $8 to $12 each because they come from a variety of different sellers and they offer a lot of bundles, you know, like 1 loaf, 2 loaves, loaves with cutters, loaves with lids. There's a lot of different factors that go in there, but generally $8 to $12. If you're cutting 1-inch bars, you're going to get 9 bars out of this with a little bit of extra on each ends for samples. They hold about 50 ounces of total soap batter. They're usually referred to as a 3-pound mold. So some pros with these ones. They are cheap. They're readily accessible from a variety of sources. So Amazon, Wish, Alibaba, AliExpress, a ton of different places where you can get these. They are surprisingly durable. We have 12 and we have used them for the vast majority of our soaping time. And these were what we were upgrading up from. So if you're like us and this is where you're starting, this is where we were too. Some cons. First thing, they are pretty small. You only get 9 bars. And the thing with trying to go up in your efficiency with your business is you want to be able to put about the same amount of effort in and have higher output. So the larger molds we're going to talk about take about the same amount of effort to make soap in, but you get more bars. The other thing that comes up with these is kind of similar to the first one, where it's really easy for the soaps to get stuck in the mold. So it can be occasionally kind of a pain in the butt to get them out. So you can see what we've done to work around that is we've drilled a couple of small holes in the bottom of the wood part of the mold so that when they do get stuck, you can shove like the flat end of a pencil in there and get them back out. But that can be such a pain. I hate that.
And leaves divots in the bottom of the set.
Exactly. So the next thing is inconsistency in the production of these molds. So we bought these from the same supplier, and you may not be able to tell at first glance. They might look identical, but they're not. If you'll notice here, this bottom panel is slightly smaller on this side than it is on this side. And what that does, and you can see even now, pushes the liner up over the top of the wood part of the mold, which means it tends to cause a little bit of distortion in the top of the bar. which is super frustrating, and it is difficult to mark them. You can see we have marked them a little bit with either Sharpie, or we tend to also do a wood burner now to mark them, but the liner covers the markings, and it can make it really hard if you're doing frosted soaps, doing a lot of embeds, trying to get them lined up properly. Next is the Workshop Heritage Standard Width Mold. This one is $50 for the base, $60 with a lid. They have an option that they can oil up the wood for you. That does cost extra, but we did not do that. We just got the standard. You can get 10 1-inch bars out of these ones. They hold about 65 ounces of total soap batter. So pros here is that you do get more bars per batch than the Amazon mold. They do have a really nice solid construction. The loaves don't get stuck in the wooden box because this comes out, making it really easy to just slide the loaf out of the wooden box. As another plus, they're also easily accessible. They're generally in stock over with Workshop Heritage. Some cons is there's not that significant of a difference in output. It's 10 bars versus 9, and they are wider. We'll go over that a little bit more in detail once we've got the poured loaves, but they are wider than the Amazon mold, so that could cause you to have to redo your packaging structure. And you'll also see here, the liner tends to be a little floppy and bows in the middle. So if you're not doing a complete pour, or if maybe you're a kind of a sloppy pour, then you have to find a way to secure this. Workshop Heritage suggests oiling the inside, and that helps the silicone stick. We have experienced that that tends to be true, but not necessarily completely. It doesn't do a complete stick on the side.
It does not do it 100% of the time.
And the liner is pretty close to the top here, so generally it's not too big of a problem. We usually prefer to do low tops in here if we can help it, because of that. Because if you're doing frosting or any kind of embeds that go a little bit over the side of the mold, it can be kind of a pain in the butt. Next, this is the Nurture Soap 5-pound premium mold. So the premium is $81.50. The basic version of it goes for $55.49. With this one, you can get 16 1-inch bars. You can see our markings here. Again, none of these come marked. This is all markings we've added on ourselves. So this one holds about 63 ounces of just oils, not counting your lye water solution or fragrance. So our batch that we make with this one is normally about 88 total ounces. So a pro with this one is that it's a much higher output. You get 16 bars versus either the 10 or the 9. Really easy to get the loaves out because the side comes out like this on the premium. On the basic, it does not have these side releases, and it does come with the holes pre-drilled in like we do with the Amazon molds. The other positive with this one is that because it comes from Nurture Soap and the cost, it does get free shipping. So some cons with this one is there's a pretty significant gap between the top of the wooden box and the liner. So if you do a lot of extra stuff on top like we do with soap frosting or embeds, that can make this a little tricky to work with. The basic version of this does not come with this plastic lid that slides in here, but from the pictures on Nurture's website, you can still see there is a slight gap between the top of the wood box and the liner. Another con with this one is that it is frequently not in stock. I generally find the basic one is in stock more frequently, but still, it was difficult to get a hold of a couple of these. We had to be on their waiting list to get a notification. And our final entry, this is the Brambleberry 5-pound mold. So they sell the liner and the mold itself separately. So the wooden box is $49.99 and the liner is $19.99. So that makes it a total of $69.98. With this one, when you're using the liner, you can get 15 1-inch bars. So you can see our markings here. Again, the liner is really different from some of the other ones. It's really thick, so that makes it so that even though this is super wide, it's a lot closer to the width of the Amazon molds when you're using this liner, but it does also take out quite a bit off the ends. So we have noticed frequently we do not get samples with this one.
Or at least not 2 of them.
When you're not using the liner, it is truly a 5-pound mold, and it does hold 5 pounds of total soap batter. When you're using the liner, it is less. We still make the batch as if we were doing full 5 pounds without the liner, and we put the extra into one of the mini loaves, and that helps accommodate for loss of the sample bars on the ends. When you're not using the liner, Brambleberry's website does say you can usually get about 16 bars instead of 15. So pros with this one is that ultimately it's closest in dimensions to the Amazon molds if you're looking to stay to something similar to keep your packaging structure the same. this is really close. They are ever so slightly wider and ever so slightly shorter. So the actual bar itself ends up being about the same size. And again, you'll get to see that at the end. The liner and the box are even with each other. The liner is just a touch above the top of the box. That makes doing all your pizzazz on top a lot easier. You're not dealing with that gap like you're having with some of the other molds. And the bottom slides out here, so that makes removing the loaves really easy. And the output is good with that 15 bars is a nice one to work with, and they are generally in stock on Brambleberry's website. So the cons with this one, if you are going for the basic Nurture Soap mold instead of the premium, this one is the highest price option if you're buying the liner to go along with it. So if you're comparing it to the Nurture Soap premium mold, that one is more expensive than this one. The other thing too is that shipping is not free with this one. You're going to pay about $13 or so in shipping for this. So that makes it, at the end of the day, closer to $83. Including shipping, it's technically more expensive than the Nurture Soap Premium 5-pound. The other thing to note with this too, Brambleberry sells a multi-bar cutter, which if you're familiar with our channel, you've seen Greg. Our multi-bar cutter is from Brambleberry, but Greg is too small to cut the 5-pound loaf in one go. So if you were trying to buy your multi-bar cutter and your loaf from the same place, wouldn't recommend it. Greg is also too short for high tops. So if you're going to be doing anything with a frosted top, Greg will destroy it. So if you were to use Brambleberry's multi-bar cutter, you'd only be able to cut the first 10 bars, and then you'd have to have a chunk for 5 bars and cut that again afterwards. So if you're looking to reduce extra work, have more efficiency, it's not great. You'd want to buy your multi-bar cutter from another manufacturer. Let's do this. Now that we've got all our molds, we've gone over some of the details on them, let's make some soap in these real quick so we'll have some actual loaves and bars for a visual comparison. Let's go. Okay, so it is now the next day. Just as a heads up, yes, most of them did in fact ash. So the ones that did not are the ones with the lids. So the lids are super useful when you're dealing with a low top. So I'm going to give these 3 here a quick steam treat. Be right back. Now that all the loaves are out of their liners, here is the Amazon mold. This is the one we were comparing to. So to start you off, this is the mini loaf. So you can see it is quite a bit shorter and quite a bit wider than the Amazon mold. If you turn it sideways, not that far off. Pretty close. Nearly the exact same width. Really similar in height. I mean, generally though, you're going to be cutting it like this. But if you're dealing with packaging, just turn it to the other side. Next up is the Workshop Heritage one. You can see here, nearly the same height, but quite a bit wider. Even if you were to turn it on its side, it's still taller and wider than the Amazon mold. Next up is the Brambleberry mold. So this one is shorter, but nearly the exact same width wider. So if you're looking to upgrade your mold and you're wanting to stay as close as possible to the Amazon ones, this is the one that we switched to. And the last one is the Nurture Soap loaf. So here you can see why we didn't go with this one. Even though you get 16 bars instead of 15, the width is significantly wider than the Amazon and quite a bit shorter. So even if you turn it the other way, it's still really different, which would mean we'd have to change all of our packaging to accommodate that. So here are all the finished loaves all together. Mini, Amazon, Workshop Heritage, Brambleberry, and Nurture Soap. So I think you can kind of see just here how close these two are in size, but obviously you nearly double your production by using these ones. So that's the reason why we ended up going with Brambleberry as our final choice. Another thing to note is that these 3 are all wider than this one, which in terms of your actual production and making the soap makes it so much easier to pour because you're not having to deal with such a skinny opening on the mold. Ultimately, no matter what you go with for a larger mold, you're still saving time, which is the big thing. The same amount of time it takes to do a 9-bar batch, we can do 15 or 16, which saves us time, gets us more soap a lot faster. That's the way to go. I know we didn't do any frosting in this video, but the Brambleberry mold I found the easiest to do frosting with because the liner and the wood box are level with each other. Aiming your frosting and getting it exactly where you need in your markings was so much easier with this mold than it was with any of the others. So that was one of the big deciding factors for us since we primarily use our single loaf molds for high tops. All right, so with that, I hope that helps if you're looking to upgrade your molds or have a better idea of what mold you want to go with to start off with. This is your usual hydration reminder. Make sure you go have some water, grab a snack if you need it, and we will catch you for the next video. Bye, everybody.